We think we know the stories of history's greatest figures, their triumphs, their art, their leadership. But what if the people we read about in textbooks were living a lie? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on 7 legendary figures who led shocking double lives, hiding secrets that could have completely changed how we see them. And stick around for number 1. It's a secret that literally rewrote history after their death. Kicking off our list is a modern master of the macabre, Stephen King. With a seemingly endless stream of bestsellers like The Shining, It, and Carrie, King wasn't just an author, he was a brand. His fans bought everything he wrote, but what they didn't know was that for years, they were buying his books without even realizing it. See, behind the famous name, King had a secret identity: Richard Bachman. In the late 70s and early 80s, he published novels like Rage and The Long Walk under this pen name. His motive wasn't anything sinister. He was genuinely curious to see if he could get famous all over again, based on talent alone. It was also a clever way to release his darker, more experimental stories and publish more frequently than his publishers were comfortable with, as they feared he might oversaturate the market. The secret finally came out thanks to a very persistent bookstore clerk. But it's a fascinating look at a creative genius testing his own legend. Coming in at number 6, let's jump back to 15th century England. The Wars of the Roses had just ended, and the new king, Henry VII, was on shaky ground. His enemies, the Yorkists, were desperate to get back on top, and they came up with a bold plan. If you don't have a king, just make one. Their chosen pawn was a 10-year-old boy named Lambert Simnel. A local priest coached him to act and speak like royalty, and they presented him to the world as Edward Plantagenet, a Yorkist prince with a real claim to the throne. This was a massive political gamble. For a while, it actually worked. Simnel became the face of a new rebellion and was even crowned King Edward VI in Ireland. But the whole thing fell apart at the Battle of Stoke Field, where Henry VII's army crushed the rebellion. In a strange and merciful twist, instead of executing the boy, Henry pardoned him and put him to work in the royal kitchens. Not a bad retirement plan for a fake king. At number 5, we have another wannabe king from the same era, but this guy was a much bigger threat. If Lambert Simnel was a pawn, Perkin Warbeck was a master of his own con. For nearly 10 years, this charismatic guy from modern-day Belgium lived a double life that shook the entire Tudor dynasty. Warbeck's claim was wild. He said he was Richard of Shrewsbury, one of the 2 famous princes in the Tower, who were presumed to have been murdered years earlier. And unlike Simnel, Warbeck was incredibly convincing. He traveled across Europe, and powerful rulers like the King of France and the Holy Roman Emperor supported him, not because they necessarily believed him, but because he was the perfect tool to cause chaos for their rival, England. He launched multiple invasions, giving King Henry VII a massive headache and costing him a fortune. This commoner almost talked his way onto a throne, living his royal lie to the fullest until his luck ran out. He was finally captured and executed in 1499, ending one of the most audacious impostures in history. For our 4th spot, we head to early 17th century Russia, during a period of chaos known as the Time of Troubles. The ruling dynasty had collapsed, leaving a huge power vacuum. And right into that void stepped a mysterious man with an explosive claim. He was Dmitry Ivanovich, the youngest son of Ivan the Terrible, who had supposedly died as a child. This man, known to history as False Dmitry I, was a brilliant actor. We still don't know if he was a rogue monk or a plant by Polish nobles, but he played the part so perfectly that he gained a massive following. The Russian people, desperate for a rightful Tsar, flocked to his side, and unbelievably, his army marched on Moscow, and in 1605, he was actually crowned Tsar of all Russia. For nearly a year, an impostor ruled the entire nation. But his love for foreign customs and his Polish friends quickly turned the Russian nobility against him. He was overthrown and killed in a palace coup, ending his incredible reign and proving how one huge lie can change the course of history. At number 3, is a true hero whose double life wasn't for power or fame, but for the freedom of her people. To the world, Harriet Tubman was a woman born into the horrors of slavery who bravely escaped to freedom. But to hundreds of enslaved people, she was known by a different name, Moses. This was her secret, heroic identity. After her own escape, Tubman didn't just stay safe in the North. She risked her life again and again, returning to the South. Historical sources say she made approximately 13 missions, with some suggesting it was even more, to guide others to freedom. As a conductor on the Underground Railroad, she moved in darkness and secrecy, outsmarting slave catchers at every turn. Her public identity was a former slave, but her secret one was a master strategist and fearless liberator who famously never lost a passenger. This dual life, a refugee from a brutal system who was also its greatest saboteur, makes her one of the most courageous figures in American history. Our number 2 spot is a mystery that fascinated the world for decades. In 1918, the Russian imperial family, the Romanovs, were executed. But from the start, rumors flew that one of them had survived. 2 years later, a young woman was pulled from a canal in Berlin. At the hospital, she refused to give her name, but eventually, she made a claim that shocked everyone. She said she was Grand Duchess Anastasia Nikolaevna, the youngest daughter of Tsar Nicholas II. For the next 60 years, this woman, known as Anna Anderson, lived this identity. Her story became a global phenomenon. Some old Romanov relatives and servants swore it was her, claiming she knew intimate details of palace life. Others called her a liar. Was she a traumatized royal who escaped a massacre, or a brilliant and disturbed fraud? The debate raged for her entire life. It wasn't until the 1990s, after her death, that DNA testing finally provided a clear answer. She was not a Romanov. Evidence strongly suggests she was a Polish factory worker with a history of mental illness. It remains one of history's most captivating and tragic stories of a mistaken or stolen identity. And now, for our number 1 spot. This is a story about a secret so profound. It changed everything the world thought it knew about a person, but only after they were dead. Dr. James Barry was a force of nature in the 19th century British Army. A short-tempered but brilliant surgeon, he rose through the ranks, serving across the empire. He was a dedicated reformer, fighting for better conditions for everyone, and he is credited with performing one of the first successful C-section sections in Africa, where both the mother and child survived. He was known for his professionalism, his skill, and a voice that was just a bit high-pitched. But Dr. Barry took a secret to the grave, one that was only discovered when his body was being prepared for burial. Dr. James Barry was anatomically female. It's now widely believed that Barry was born Margaret Ann Bulkley. At a time when women were completely barred from medical school and most professions, Bulkley and her family hatched an unbelievable plan. She would live her life as a man to pursue her dream of becoming a doctor. For more than 50 years, she maintained this double life, surviving medical exams, army barracks, and constant scrutiny, all while becoming a top surgeon of her day. It was a secret life, lived not for power, but for the right to follow her calling against all odds. So, what do we make of all these hidden lives? These stories show that behind the public faces in our history books, there are always deeper, more complicated truths. They prove that identity can be a prison, but it can also be a key, a tool used for survival, for ambition, and sometimes for changing the world. Which of these double lives shocked you the most? Let us know down in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more dives into history's most fascinating secrets.